Good morning, dear friends. We shall today enjoy a day full of concrete examples on the level of businesses and business schools. An impressive number of experts in the field of digital development, education and research will further lead us in the world of digitalization.
At the moment, we think about that a little bit superficially. We understand that we must use new technologies in our educational practice, but that happened always. And I think we have to think deeper and probably see, to have a long view about that.
So main question for the technology today is, what is a long-term context? Because the things that we use today, right, didn't even exist like 10 or 15 years ago. Everybody has a smartphone today, right? Smartphone was not even a concept maybe 15 years ago. Mobile phone, yes, but smart, for sure, no. So what will be in the next 20, 30 years for the technology to solve? Artificial intelligence, which we usually will look at, artificial intelligence through robots and, the science fiction movies where usually man ends up dead and machine wins and stuff like that. That's actually not that far away. We are predicting that in 5 years from now, artificial intelligence will be able to calculate 20 quadrillion calculations per second, which is actually the same thing as what our brains are doing. A few years later, probably, all the computational power of artificial intelligence in the world will be the same as all the human brains combined in the world, with one huge exception. We can connect artificial intelligence in between, in the terms of someone who's working with the best and brightest that we are hiring or we are sending people over there. It's really important what type of the expectations, I would say, we have for those guys. What would be the capabilities that they have to support this long-term developments that everybody is expecting, right? And I was reading a study that you did. You already see what that could be. There is a leadership, there's innovation, there's a change management, there's entrepreneurship thinking in all of that, right? But also developing capabilities like computational skills or creative thinking, design thinking around this one. Or there are many things that we're looking from the capabilities perspective. And most of the good corporations are not hiring for the position. They're hiring for the company, meaning the people will go through many roles. We will ask them to do many things, and they need to have many really different capabilities to grow with the company and the technology that we're trying to build.
How do we operate the bank, both internally and in our relationship with the outer world? And only recently or only later I learned that actually what we were doing, we were designing customer and employee experiences. And I think that this is talking about the change and what the future leaders need to understand and need to do and need to know is about actually designing those experiences, being them in the real physical world or being them, and there will be more and more in the actual virtual world. So we are talking about those critical touch points, the very moment you have a contact with either a bank or if you order something on internet. So the feelings you have, the emotions that you have with that very moment are critical for your success, and that needs to be understood. So it's about customer experience and it's about employee journeys within the organizations. The formal structures of organizations are going to they are going to disappear. So what actually the future leaders will be doing, they'll be orchestrating talent pools without actually having a chance to meet up with each and every particular part or member of that talent pool. So they have to rely on technology, will have to rely on technology even more in the future. What we see, what is missing in the current curriculum, and what we see when students come to the real-life organizations, what are the major problems that they are facing are related to social skills. Communication, ability to manage emotions, ability to manage human conflicts, ability to manage actually physical communication with the audience, ability to sense and to have empathy, to sense the feelings of other parties. So I think it still needs to be in the focus when it comes to we're doing at school.
MBA used to be a gold standard for a corporate career. When corporate careers are deteriorating and a lot of those jobs are not the same anymore, it might not be the same gold standard anymore. Actually, I would even say that some people would consider MBAs too much of a traditionalist to form the future, to come up with all the new ideas. So how can you prepare your candidates to venture into some of these new fields and find out how they can use technology to their advantage and identify those opportunities? And I believe that business schools and education, which is also under heavy attack for change because it's been more or less the same for so many years, will have to adapt to a faster update of knowledge. We've been used to looking at a linear development. Linear is turning into exponential. And this is really the big difference between change has always been around. Disruption is just the newest word of change. The pace of change is different. And this all goes back to the computer processing capacity that is now possible and which will be possible in the following years. So much new is possible at such a low cost, and that brings a lot of new opportunities and, of course, also threats.
We need to think hard about our responsibility within our societies to adapt and to continue to prepare our high talents and our less than high talents, our everybody's, to embrace these opportunities, not to be overcome by fear and anxiety, and to help shape this world that we can't quite see very clearly at the moment.
There's an expectation that 61% of the business school will need to change dramatically in the years to come. That was one of the response. And I was reading an article where they're actually also saying that when you look at the change which is coming from the artificial intelligence and all these changes, like 66% of the jobs could be in the danger because of this, like 2/3. And I think it's amazingly big number, right? 2/3 of our jobs basically could be replaced by something else in a near future. And way back, like 5 to 10 years, we would think about blue and white collar jobs. We would say anything in industry operations can be automated, right? And so we were like, oh, we're on the safe side, right? But we are not. We did this study about around the impact of the technology on the society, and for every single digital job, let's call it digital job, there will be 10 regular jobs lost. And the first impact will be on this highly automated type of jobs that we can eliminate, let's call it this way. Then we also hit inequalities that we have in society. So for every digital job, 10 men will lose the job, but also 20 women will lose the job. And you know what I mean? So the society is not unequal. And all the technology that we are building, of course, I agree with you, we are doing that for the greater good, but the effects of how people are using that technology are not always, they're not correlate with the things, how we see the technology in terms of advancing the society and so forth. We have these two sides of what we want to do as a society and what is the effect of the things which we are kind of supporting over there. We don't think about developing specific technology for a specific area, finance, for example. That's why we have a lot of people who are working with us, partners, right, other software providers and so forth, which are actually trying to find this disruptive niche, right? What they should do to enter this market based on the technology and computational power that not just Microsoft, like a lot of providers have, right? In a sense of where it's going to hit first, you're right. Like that's what partners are looking for. What would be the easiest path to deliver this disruptive thing and then get a lot of money out of it? That's natural, and it's a little bit related to the regulation thing, right? That's why we have governments, organizations, right, educational institutions and associations, so that they also think about how this thing could be applied to something else than not just like finance world, right?
This change about to happen, and is already happening now, should not be considered with fear, because really technology is able to change and solve most of the problems we define today as world problems. It can solve poverty, it can solve education, hunger, it can solve diseases. There are very good news on its way within most major diseases for new cures because of the data we can now collect. So please remember, when you read the press is negatively prone. So a negative story will always attract more attention than a positive one. But mostly technology will present more solutions than problems. That doesn't mean that we should disregard the problems coming out of this, but there's a lot of great stuff on its way and a lot of opportunities.
I'm the first one not to fear of the technology and changes, and that's not, of course, the message. It's just a great opportunity for all of us. And I think private sector and educational sector, we actually need to work out way much more closer because the expectations are going to be really like short term from all of the sides, right? And some of the things will stay the same, but to be competitive on the market, schools, right? You need to align more. I think there will be a perception that you need to align way much more faster to the changes that we already see that will happen in a few years, right? So some traditional things are going to die, is going to be changed, and as you said, it's very hard to change the structure of the education.
So what's left for the business school or the school in general? I think this should become a place where those young people will be having an opportunity to interrelate, to communicate live with live people, to exchange experiences. I think that the place where the experience exchange is happening still a physical place. So the physical contact with someone who has yet another experience, yet another wisdom based on this experience. I think this is what schools should do, and capability of designing the student experience during the study time will be the differentiating factor for a business school. And I believe that there are like three major pillars to engagement. One is involvement, empowerment, and the third one is the most difficult, which is making sense or providing purpose. And this is something that I believe, regardless of the organizational structures, regardless of technological platforms, this is something that will remain in the domain of a future leader. It's really to be able to create a story and make it impactful. And of course, vision is one of the ways. Is actually to show where are we heading with this project. And the problem, of course, is the time span. We were discussing. I think we live in the times where the long-term planning or long-term strategies are not relevant anymore. It's like a project with a very, very short time perspective, because the change is so quick. But I believe that this ability to be visionary, ability to create purpose for people and deliver it in a human communication, regardless the channel, this is going to be very important for future.
What digital makes world much smaller. Everything is so close. Everything is open. Everything is kind of shareable. We share everything. But in that same time, it makes it very complex and very deep. Again, how in that world the business school should change and what are the content actually would work. Future workplace. Yes, digitalization is important, digital workplaces, but still I would say that the manager is still needed. Technology, as like in the money and funds, they're kind of enabler that would enable us to do things much more convenient, better, faster. If you look at 100 years ago, 100 years back, there was also management. There were managers, leaders. Also companies, established companies were built. And this is also a question that today, do we think that in 5 years everything is totally changed? No, I don't think so. But the question is how much technology will, let's say, enable things to build different way. And of course, we go back to the content. The future workplace, Andrew Crisp, I think, yes, was few times has brought out kind of future jobs, actually. What is a future job? There are jobs, but different jobs. And I think the fastcompany.com has kind of listed different type of the jobs in 10 years' time. There is one listed, freelance professors. Oh, that's very relevant for us, the topic. Professional triber, urban farmers, end-of-life planner. Okay, we do already have those kind of things today. Senior carer, remote healthcare specialist. If you look at these kind of future jobs, let's start getting back what does it mean for us today, in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Why a new imperative? Probably we can find a number of reasons for this, but let's start with one, big data. Term used to describe a humongous amount of buried and ever-growing data. Think about the following. We humans make 4 million posts every minute. We make 4 million posts in Facebook. We tweet 350,000 times. We upload 300 hours of YouTube video. We stream 75,000 hours of Netflix. We swipe Tinder 500,000 times. I don't know exactly what this means for society, but that's basically what we're doing. It says that big data is a modern version of the telescope and the microscope, in the sense that it has allowed us to see things that we couldn't see before. The microscope and the telescope actually ushered a new understanding of the world, and this is what big data is doing for us today. If we move one notch up, let's take a look at what are the knowledge domains that comprise data analytics, and those are foundations, and when I say foundations, it's mostly mathematics, statistics, and theoretical computer science.
Our approach to addressing the challenges of new technologies, and this of course captures beyond digital technology also technologies related to life sciences, for instance, and other new types of interdisciplinary areas that emerged, is that we don't educate graduates to be managers, but managers that know of chemistry, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, informatics.
In practice, it can be very difficult. We identify the problems, we identify the ways, how to deal with it. But virtual exchange is important. We think about it locally in our institutions. We try to identify different ways to do the virtual exchange. Maybe we try to find some researchers, they are very famous somewhere in the world, and then ask them to work with us to do some projects with our researchers, with our academic, or have project with our students. We have some challenges. So those are some of the challenges that we identify locally. Then if we want to be successful in doing virtual exchange, then one of the most important things is that we have the faculty members. Sometimes it's difficult for them. They don't know what to do, and they may need to make use of the new technology to communicate.
I think it's a little more obvious. But I think at the same time, we're going to have to fundamentally also question some of the disciplines that perhaps haven't been raised. So I find myself wondering around the relevance of pricing, accountancy. I find myself thinking very strongly about the issues in ethics that we address in our school. I find myself wondering about strategy. I heard somebody earlier say that if we know what the future holds, we can adapt our management education, our business models, our operating models, our relationships. The point is that our clients and our students expect us to co-create that future. They don't expect us to sit here and wait for somebody to tell us what a future holds.
I'm going to tell you a story now. And the story never happened. It's a fairy tale. Are you sitting comfortably? Once upon a time, he said, now you can put your Valium away. All the 500 scripts you have to work to mark for tomorrow. all the tutorials you have to do next week, all the lectures you have to do. You don't have to publish in 4-star journals anymore. What? You don't have to, that's not going to be the benchmark anymore. Any research that benefits society and business managers is going to be the prominent part of research. What? Yes, you'll be rewarded even for writing a really good case study on a company that has real implications for society. Wow. And the student dropped the bottle of Valium tablets on the floor because they could see that the system was about to change.
Place where knowledge is, it's first of all universities. Human personality is the only vessel to keep the knowledge and mind. So, develop your personality.
What is more interesting is actually that in these unicorns, when they research, we can find our MBAs. Founders, one in 4 founders actually have MBA degree. Many times also for students, it's question why not? I believe there's always very small percentage of MBAs that will become entrepreneurs. But to act entrepreneurially or to follow what is happening can be used in every day. So venture is showing also how to connect schools and how to create added value also. There's just one example of professor that did exit last year, 1 million euro, more than 1 million euro, selling the company, startup company that he established with participants, unicorn leaders actually that are running the companies and should use the entrepreneurial ecosystem that already exists, all the accelerators, incubators, others, to collaborate together as a source of inspiration, of hub of innovation, and more updated curriculum with the real live cases that they can learn. But also the potential revenue stream for professors and schools are also there.
We talk about digitalization, we talk about change, we talk about innovation, we talk about business innovation, business model innovation. And what we don't do is changing ourselves. And I think we need really a radical change, starting with ourselves to prepare ourselves for a new time of period of digitalization. I think most important is that we need more flexibility. Our students like flexibility. Not only in content, but also in processes. We need a sort of business model that's more fluid for our students. And we need to be more, I would say, more relevant. So we will go from knowledge management to be in control, to try to be out of control. We need to be really more community-based to be more out of control, knowledge productivity. We need to go from controlling to sharing. We like to control also as university. We should be more community-based, more like sharing. It's like a modern organization, like we teach our clients. We need to be more self-organized. We need to create something in customer intimacy, to customize our processes. We need relevant business research and relevant education. Course should be more activity-based. We teach it, but we have to do it ourselves. And we need an integrated approach. We have to change our structures and our business model and how we earn money, but we don't know how to do it. But it doesn't mean that we are not responsible to do it. I think we have to integrate IT systems. We have to integrate CRM in lifelong learning systems. So it's about to create a more smart organization, more flexible organization, lower fixed costs, higher direct costs, because direct costs are related to quality. Fixed costs has nothing to do with quality, it's just bureaucratic, just about administration and support. Not interesting, but to make it smart, really smart.
You know, from the presentation, I can sense a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety that the world gonna change. And the reality is the world is changing, and it's probably gonna change to the extent we don't even realize. The point is, all the technologies, whatever we want to call them, digitalization or what have you, are for the betterment of human being, for all of us, to make our life better, to make us more effective, more efficient in the workplace. So whatever are created out there, we're going to benefit. Jobs going to be lost, but new jobs going to come on board. The challenge for us, business school provider, is that Our graduates not going to get the same jobs in the banks because the bank's going to be gone. They're not going to get the same jobs as in the retailing sector. They're going to be gone. They're going to get new jobs. They're going to go work for new startup. So we need to better prepare them for the new world of different kind of jobs.
I think that everybody has his or her solutions, but this picture on the screen, this is not just a digital watch. This is also the analog watch. And you see that they both can work at the same time. So that I really hope that the old university and the new university, the old society and the new society can be on the same earth.
My conviction is that we all underestimate the adaptability of human beings. So with all this change, we'll manage. Because if we think about what happened in the beginning of the 19th century when the power machine started changing the industries, people were really scared, you know, and you remember they just broken machines because they thought that that will take their jobs off people. But then people managed to deal with that. So I think something like that will happen here. I think we enjoy being together, like in this conference. We enjoy working together in the projects when students come to the business school. They enjoy it. And we must keep this human side of business education using the technology to make this process just more efficient. We mustn't lose this important stuff.
The first thing is really about tools, that we got much more interesting tools that we can use as educators. We can use, for example, private channels on the YouTube and ask students to create movies as answers or tests instead of, you know, giving answers in a traditional way. We can ask them to study using different databases. We can, for example, teach them how to use statistics or how to analyze strategies by going to the public databases, crunch the data, and come with answers. And so there are hundreds of ways that you could use the existing digital tools to enable students to learn better and differently. But also it means a second thing to me. And I think in every subject, and I, for example, teach strategic management and international business, there must be a component of entrepreneurship, because digital world means that there will be no jobs for them. And the jobs will not be traditional. I mean, traditional firm was always like a pipe. You know, you're getting people in, they were processed and getting out. Now, today is the world of platforms. So, frankly speaking, you get in and you get out. You can get and you can out. And there will be times in your life when you will have to work as an entrepreneur. And that's the first and last message I'm leaving my students with. In the digital world, they will have to develop their own jobs.
We have been on a quest throughout. I don't think digitalization is changing a lot. And the basic question is we have to help people come to the essential. Maybe it's a bit more difficult in a world of digitalization, but the biggest problem of all is that people can't get to the heart of the matter. And so I'm always struggling with that, and things come and go, digitalization, globalization, communication, but the real story is, can we help our students come to the essential?
I believe that, again, we come to conclusion also at this conference that we have to make in management education a combination of high touch and high tech. And I think that with high tech we are coming to have more time, because the machines and not only, I don't mean robots, etc., but I mean the systems, like one of our guys was saying here, the speakers, that they will liberate us to have more time for high touch. And if we look to this research, what we need to make in management education, it's always communication skills, it's always team building, it's always soft skills, understanding, motivating, but especially inspiring. So I see that we really have to educate people for both. And I'm sure that we are in best of the schools doing this already, in the best schools. But of course, being stimulated by this conference, we shall do it even more in the future. And of course, being inspired by Estonian experience, this is the best place we could come and see what this country is doing. And I'm sure that this will be very, very great experience for all of us.
To me personally, first of all, management education for the digital world means bringing technology into the classroom. Does not mean that we would like to replace human or traditional professor in the classroom, but we really want to make sure that technology helps to facilitate human interaction and also give an opportunity to experience classroom experience for those who sometimes physically cannot be in the classroom.
At ACSB International, we believe that management education for the digital world must be driven by three important factors: by innovation, by engagement, and impact. We encourage our schools, working with various stakeholders, to be innovative, creative in the courses and the modules and the programs they're delivering around digitalization and its impact on the world of commerce. Also, it's essential that our schools are always knowledgeable about the impact that these initiatives and that ultimately their faculty and their students will have on the world of work. It's been terrific to participate in this CEEMAN conference here to focus on this topic.